Okay, so this is video 2 of the Gauss-Jordan elimination method. In video 1, I explained kind of the goal of the Gauss-Jordan. In this video, I'm going to show you step by step of how to solve the problem. Okay, so I set up the matrix from last time, and from here, we're just going to go ahead and solve this matrix. Okay, so like I said in the previous video, we want the first value to be 1. Since it is already 1, then I don't have to worry about that. I'm going to go on to step 2. Step 2 is I want this negative 2 to become 0. So how do I get that negative 2 to become 0? Well, one of the ways that we can attack this matrix is that we can amplify any row. So this is row 1, this is row 2, this is row 3. We can amplify any of these rows. We usually denote this row 1, row 2, row 3. And then we can add or subtract the rows to each other. Okay. If you think about this, this makes sense, right? It's like solving a system of equations. You can amplify one matrix or one equation and solve for the other. So, for example, if I give you an equation like 2x plus 3y equals 10 and 3x plus 7y equals 8, and you're asked to solve this, we can take one multiplied by 3 and take the other multiplied by 2, and we'll get 6x plus 9y, I said multiplied by 2, but I meant negative 2, equals 30, and negative 6x minus 14y equals negative 16, and then we can add these two together with the intent of getting this to become 0x, right? And go so on and so forth and solve the problem. Okay, so that's essentially what we're doing here. Okay, the same exact procedure, except in our situation, we're just going to be doing this in terms of the matrix, in terms of zeros and ones. Okay, so let's watch my great erasing techniques, and let's go back to the matrix. Okay, so what do we do from here? So how do we go about doing this? Actually, I'm going to erase this right here as well. I'm going to need some space here when I'm solving these problems. So again, I'm going to take this value here and make it 0. Okay, the way I'm going to do that is I'm simply going to take 2 times row 1 and I'm going to add that to row 2 to get a new row 2. Okay, so I'm going to take this first equation, I'm going to multiply it by 2, so it's going to become 2, 2, 0, 10. That's simply this times 2, this times 2, this times 2, this times 2. And then I'm going to add the bottom row 2. Okay, so when I do this, I end up getting 0, 1, 2, 0. Okay, this is my new row 2. So now, when I write my matrix, my new matrix is going to be 1, 1, 0, 5. Then I'm going to use this row. I'm going to insert it here. So now 0, 1, 2, 0. And then I didn't do anything to the third, so I'm just going to rewrite it. Okay, so I did 2 times this first row here. Okay, let me change the color here. I did 2 times this first row, okay, and then we added the second row to it, okay. I write this out here off to the side because I think it gets very easy to get confused. Your book just does it. They don't tell you exactly what they're doing, they just do it. And some people will do it in their head. I like to write it off to the side because I think it's very confusing if you don't, okay? Again, all I'm doing is adding systems of equations together, trying to create a desired result of 0 here, which I did. Okay? So now that I have that as 0, My next move is that I want to make this 3, I want this 3 right here to become 0. So how would I go about doing that? Well, I can take row 1 again, and I can multiply by negative 3, and if I add that to row 3, this 1 is going to become 3, or negative 3, and when I add these two together, this will become 0. Right? That's the idea behind it. So let's do that. Let's see how that happens. So like I said, I'm going to multiply the first row by negative 3. So I'm going to have negative 3, 0, negative 15, and then I'm going to rewrite row 3. 3, 6, 7, 14. I'm going to add these two together, and this is going to give me 0, 3, 7, negative 1. So I'm going to rewrite everything else except row 3. So the first row is 1, 1, 0, 5. Second one is 0, 1, 2, 0. And the third row is now going to become 0, 3, 7, negative 1. Okay, and technically there's a line going down each of these. It's not that big of a deal if you put it in there or not. Okay, so now we're here. Okay, so what am I going to do from here? Well, the next goal is to get this to be 1, so it's already 1, so I don't have to worry about that. Now I want this to be 0, so how do I change that 3 to 0? Well, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change this to negative 3. So this will become negative. I'm going to turn this to negative 3. I'm just going to add it to row 3, and that'll give me 0. Okay? So let's do that. So we're going to do negative 3 times row 2. I'm going to add that to row 3 to get my new row 3. Okay? So when I do this, we're going to end up getting what? We're going to get row 2 times negative 3. It's going to become 0, negative 3, negative 6, 0, and we're going to add that to row 3, which is 0, 3, 7, negative 1. So when I add this, I end up getting 0, 0, 1, negative 1. Okay? So I'm going to rewrite this now, and when I rewrite this, the only thing again that I'm changing is my third row. So note, this is the same thing as this. Everything else is the same. Okay? Draw a line down here, and so we have it. Now, the next goal is to change this into 1, but it's already 1, so we're good. So notice that with this we did our desired first part. We got 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, and then 1. Okay, so this is fantastic. The first part is done. Now all I got to do is make the rest of these zeros in that order, and I'm done. Okay, so the next move is in order to turn this 1 into a 0, I'm going to take negative row 2, add that to row 1 to give me a new row 1. Okay. Now, the reason why you have to get zeros here, here, and here is so that when I go back and I change this to a 0, I have to at this point use row 2. Okay. The reason why you want to use row 2 is that this is the only one that we have, and we want to make this 1 so that I can change whatever this is to whatever it is. In this case, it's nice because it's already 1, so if you make this negative and you add them together, they go away. Okay, so you create this effect, that way you don't keep going or spiraling in a circle forever and ever. Because it'd be very easy for you if you had other values, that as you change one, the other sides would change and be a perpetual changing of everything, and you would never get to any result you want. So you have to do it this way. So in any case, what we end up getting is I'm going to rewrite the second row with negatives, and I'll rewrite the first row as it is. I'm going to add them together. I'm going to get 1, 0, negative 2, 5, and this is going to be now my row 1. So I'm going to rewrite everything. All I'm doing is changing the first one. Everything else is the same. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take row 1, and I'm going to have to, I want this now to become 0. Okay. That's easy to do. Just add row 2 to it. So we're going to do row 2 plus row 1, and that'll give me my new row 1. So I'm going to do 0, 1, 2, 0. That's row 2. I'm going to add row 1, and it's going to give me 1, 1, 0. I'm sorry. I don't want to do that. And the reason I don't want to do that is because if I do that, I'm going to end up getting a 1 right back up here. So I made a silly mistake here, but I didn't want to edit it because it's an important little mistake. I have to use, at this point, I have to use row 3 to do this. So that the 0, 0 here will keep this 1 and this 0. So I have to, at this point, use row 3. I was glossing over that, didn't pay attention to that. Okay. So I'm actually going to do 2 times row 3 plus row 1 to give me my new row 1, because clearly that'll change. If I change this to 2, if I add it to this negative 2, I'll get 0. Alright? So let's do that. So 2 times row 3, so it's going to become 0, 0, 2, negative 2, and then row 1, which is 1, 0, negative 2, 5. And when we add them together, we get 1, 0, 0, 3. So now I'm going to rewrite it. So it's going to become 1, 0, 0, 3, 0, 1, 2, 0, 0, 0, 1, negative 1. Okay, and we're almost there. And the last step to do is to get this into a 0, and then we'll be done. So, how are we going to do this? Well, we'll take this row 3, we'll change this to a negative 2, so now when I add these two together, 2 minus 2 is going to give me 0. Okay, so let's do that. So we're going to take negative 2 times row 3, we're going to add that to row 2, and so what is that going to be? So negative 3, so that's 0, 0, negative 2, 2, and then row 2 is going to be 0, 1, 2, 0, and so when I add these together I'll get 0, 1, 0, 2. So I'm going to rewrite everything the same except the middle row, which is going to be 0, 1, 0, 2, and the last one's going to be 0, 0, 1, negative 1. And there we have it. There's our matrix, and we are done. Okay, so Gauss-Jordan, really long method. That's why I decided to make this video, because it shows it takes a lot of steps to get there. It's not hard, it's just tedious. So you have to be very slow and meticulous as you go through. Be very careful. Remember, these are giving you the values of x, y, and z, so there's nothing to say that at the very end. Take these values, plug them back into the original equation, make sure you get it correct. One little mistake and the whole thing is wrong. So that's the part that's a little tricky. So be very, very, very careful as you work through this. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. You probably need to try to work it on your own. You probably need to rewatch this video a couple more times. But hang in there and you'll get there. Alright guys, see you in the next video. Alright guys, before I actually end this, just want to show you that I rewrote it all very clearly. So again, please, if it helps, pause, follow through step by step. If that helps, makes your life better. Alright, now I'll say goodbye for sure. Bye-bye.